The Intergalactic Academy was never silent. The wide halls echoed with voices of young alien students speaking in dozens of languages. Every corner was full of glowing feathers, small claws, and bright eyes as students carried their pets proudly. It was the special day of the semester, the pet showcase. Everyone was excited but also nervous. In this academy, pets were not only for fun. They showed a student's culture, status, and sometimes even courage. The large classroom was already buzzing. A group of scaled students with blue skin carried tiny lizard-like pets that clicked their tongues. Another group of tall, feathered aliens laughed while their small glowing birds sat on their shoulders. A jelly-like student from the water world brought a floating bubble creature that shimmered in many colors. Every alien wanted to impress the others. The teacher, an old alien with 4 eyes and a strict voice, stood near the front, trying to keep order.
I know.
Each of you will show your pet and explain why it represents your people, the teacher said firmly. The students obeyed, but their whispers never stopped. Did you see the claws on mine? One alien whispered. My bird sings in 3 tones at once, another bragged. Wait until they see my venomous worm, someone chuckled. Atmosphere was playful, full of pride and competition. Then suddenly, the door opened. A hush fell over the room. A human student walked in. He was the only human in this class. His hair was messy, his uniform wrinkled, and his steps heavy. But what caught everyone's eyes was not a mitt, was the large cage he dragged behind him. Metal bars scraped the floor with a sound that made every alien flinch. The cage shook slightly, as if something strong moved inside. The alien pets reacted first. The glowing birds fluttered their wings nervously. The lizards hissed and backed away, and the bubble creature collapsed into a small, trembling sphere. Even the venomous worm froze, hiding inside its container. The human did not speak. Walked to his desk slowly and set the cage down with a loud thud. Dust rose from the floor. For a moment, the classroom was silent. Every student stared. The teacher narrowed his eyes. You are late, the teacher said. And what is that thing you have brought? The human only smiled faintly. His voice was calm but carried weight. My pet. A wave of laughter burst. Out among the students, some pointed, others covered their mouths in shock. A human pet? What could it be? A dog? A rat? They still keep wild animals on their homeworld? Maybe it's already dead in that box. The laughter echoed, but then the cage rattled again. This time harder. The metal bars groaned under pressure, and a deep growl came from within. It was not loud, but it was enough. The sound traveled through the floor and into their bones. The laughter stopped instantly. The alien pets went wild. The birds tried to fly out of the windows, the lizards dug into their owner's arms, and the jelly creature burst into liquid, splashing on the floor. The students panicked, holding their pets tightly. The teacher took a step back, his 4 eyes wide. Control your creature, human. This is a classroom, not a war zone. The human sat calmly in his chair, placing a hand on the cage. The growl stopped. The metal bars stilled. Every eye in the room locked on him. Don't worry, the human said softly. He listens to me. No one dared to speak. Even the most confident aliens lowered their heads. For the first time, the human was not seen as weak or strange. He was terrifying, but he acted like nothing was unusual. He pulled out a notebook and a pen, ignoring the whispers around him. The cage remained quiet, but the aura in the room changed. It was no longer playful or light-hearted. It was heavy, tense, and filled with a silent question. What kind of pet does a human call his own? The alien students leaned closer to one another, whispering in low voices. Did you hear that growl? It sounded like something big. No creature should make other pets so afraid. Not unless it's a predator. One brave feathered student finally asked, his voice shaking, Human, what's inside the cage? The human raised his eyes slowly. His calm smile returned. You'll see, he replied. The classroom froze. Even the teacher felt a chill. The bell rang, but no one moved. All eyes stayed on the cage that seemed too strong. too dangerous, too alive. The showcase had just begun, but already everyone knew today's lesson would not be normal, and deep inside that cage, two glowing eyes opened. The next morning, the classroom was quieter than usual. Students still carried their pets, but they held them closer, almost protectively. Yesterday's laughter had not returned. The memory of that growl still echoed in their minds. The human entered again, dragging the same cage. This time no one laughed. Every eye followed him as he placed it down. The cage did not shake. It did not growl. It only sat there, heavy and silent, like a shadow in the room. And that silence was somehow more frightening than the noise from before. The alien pets reacted first. The glowing birds refused to sing. Keeping their feathers flat, the lizards refused to climb, staring at the cage with wide eyes. Even the jelly creature stayed shrunken and pale, floating weakly. The predator inside was not even moving, yet its presence filled the room like invisible fire. The feathered alien from yesterday leaned closer to his friend and whispered, "Why does it feel like the air is heavier today?" Another alien, the one with scaled blue skin, muttered back, "Because that thing is still alive. I heard it breathe last night. It's no normal animal." Every group of students whispered the same way. Some speculated it was a beast from Earth, one of the dangerous forests. Others thought it was an experiment, maybe illegal. A few even wondered if it was a monster from deep space that humans had somehow tamed. No one agreed, but everyone felt the same fear. The teacher tried to continue the lesson. "Today, we will begin the first tests of obedience," the teacher announced, trying to sound calm. "Your pets will show how well they respond to your commands. Order, loyalty, and respect will be measured." One by one, the alien students stepped forward. The glowing birds flew in circles on command. The lizards climbed walls quickly. The jelly creatures split into three and reformed. The class clapped politely, though the tension never fully left. Then the teacher's four eyes turned toward the human. "Your turn." The human looked at the cage, then back at the teacher. He spoke calmly. "Not yet." The entire class gasped. Refusing the teacher's order was unheard of. The teacher stiffened, his voice sharp. "You will follow the rules, like everyone else." The human only smiled faintly. "He isn't ready yet." The cage rattled softly, as if the predator inside agreed. A low breath escaped, it like air pulled from the throat of a storm. Every alien pet shrieked or hissed. In response, the classroom became chaos, with students trying to calm their creatures. The teacher raised his voice. "Enough. Sit down, human. If your pet cannot behave, then it will be disqualified." But deep down, the teacher himself hesitated. He had seen many pets in his years at the academy. None had ever caused this reaction. None had forced silence into every corner of the room with only a breath. As the noise slowly settled, one alien student dared to whisper, "What kind of creature makes other predators afraid?" The human, hearing the words, leaned back in his chair. His calm eyes scanned the room. He finally spoke, his voice low but clear. "Predators fear him because he isn't prey. And neither are humans." The whisper spread like fire. Some students shivered. Others looked at the human with new eyes, not as a weak, odd creature among aliens, but as something dangerous. The cage stayed quiet again, but the tension grew even heavier. Everyone now understood. When the human finally opened, that cage, the academy, would never be the same. The third day of the pet showcase was meant to be the most exciting. By now, every student had shown what their pet could do. There had been songs, tricks, and even a venomous display that left burn marks on the floor. Yet none of that mattered. Anymore, the only thing anyone cared about was the human's cage. The classroom was full, but the noise was strange. It wasn't the cheerful buzz of competition. With sharp whispers, nervous laughs, and the sound of alien pets refusing to settle down. Every creature in the room had grown restless since the human arrived. When the door opened, silence hit. Like a wave, a human walked in, dragging the same heavy cage. The bars were scratched deeper than before. Something inside had pressed against them during the night. The teacher finally lost patience. Enough waiting. Today, the human will reveal his pet. This has gone too far. His four eyes darted across the room, trying to look confident, but his voice carried unease. The human set the cage in the center. He didn't look nervous. He didn't even look excited. He simply stood there, as if he already knew what was about to happen. The alien students leaned forward, their faces tense. Some of them gripped their pets tighter. One feathered alien whispered, "This is it. We're going to see what's inside." The human bent down, unlocking the first latch. The metal clicked loudly in the silence. Then he undid the second lock. The cage trembled slightly, but the predator inside stayed, still waiting. The air felt heavier, thicker, as if the entire academy held its breath. Finally, the human pulled the door open. At first, nothing happened. Only a pair of glowing eyes appeared in the darkness of the cage, yellow, sharp, unblinking. The room froze. The alien pets whimpered and pressed themselves against their owners. Even the teacher stepped back without meaning to. Then, slowly, the predator emerged. It was tall, its body lean but packed with muscle. Its claws tapped the floor lightly. As it walked out, each step controlled. A long tail swayed behind it, balancing its powerful frame. Its head turned, eyes sweeping the room with intelligence, not the wild look of a beast, but the sharp gaze of something that understood power. The alien students could not speak. Their mouths opened, but no words came. They had brought colorful birds, clever lizards, and glowing jelly creatures. The human had brought something different, something primal, something that belonged at the very top of the food chain. The predator's eyes stopped on one of the alien. Pets a small bird trembling on its owner's shoulder. In an instant, the bird fainted, falling to the floor. The predator didn't move toward it, but the message was clear. It didn't need to attack to win. Its presence alone was enough. The human placed a calm hand on its back. The predator lowered its head, almost like a bow. The connection between them was undeniable. This was not just a wild creature, this was a bond. The teacher tried to speak, his voice cracking slightly. "What? What is that?" The human looked up, his expression still calm. "On my world, we call it an apex predator. It fears nothing. It bows to no one, except me." The whispers in the classroom turned into gasps. Some aliens leaned away, afraid. Others stared with fascination. A few even felt respect. The predator sat down beside the human, quiet and obedient. But its eyes never stopped watching, glowing with hunger and power. The classroom felt smaller now, as if the walls themselves were afraid to stand too close. For the first time in the Academy's history, it wasn't the alien students who held the spotlight. It was the human and the beast that walked beside. Him, the pet showcase, had changed. It was no longer about tricks or culture. It was about survival. And everyone knew one thing. No one would ever forget the moment the cage opened. The classroom no longer felt like a classroom. It felt like a cage itself, except the predator inside was free, and everyone else was trapped. The alien students sat frozen, their pets pressed tightly against them. The glowing birds refused to spread their wings. Scaled lizards dug their claws into their owners, refusing to move. The jelly creature floated at the very back, pale and trembling like a piece of soft glass. The apex predator did not growl. It did not attack. It simply sat beside the human, its glowing eyes scanning the room one by one. Yet every creature in the class felt hunted. One tall feathered alien finally spoke, his voice shaking. This isn't fair. That's not a pet. That's a monster." Another alien, blue-scaled and angry, slammed his hand on the desk. "You'll get us all killed. What if it loses control?" The predator tilted its head toward him, unblinking. The alien stopped mid-sentence, his throat tight, his scales turning pale. He lowered his eyes quickly, not daring to look again. The teacher tried to regain order, but even his four eyes showed fear. "Class, settle down. No harm has been done. The human has control," but his voice was weak, and the students knew it. The human remained calm, almost too calm. He placed his hand lightly on the predator's back. He listens to me, the human said simply. He will not harm unless I command it. That sentence only made the whispers worse. He controls it? One alien muttered. No creature should obey like that, another whispered. Maybe the humans are not what we think they are. The predator stretched its body slowly, its claws scraping the floor with a sharp scush. The sound alone was enough to send shivers through the class. Even the teacher took one step back without realizing it. Suddenly, one of the small glowing birds panicked. It fluttered out of its owner's hand, flying high across the room in terror. The predator's head snapped upward, its eyes following the bird with perfect precision. The entire class held their breath. For a long moment, everyone thought it would leap, but it didn't. Instead, it looked at the human, waiting. The human raised his hand slightly, and the predator relaxed, lowering its gaze. The bird crashed into the wall, then fluttered weakly back into its owner's arms. The students were stunned. It wasn't just the predator's power that terrified them now, it was the control the human had over it. The feathered alien whispered, almost too quietly, "We laughed at him before. We thought humans were weak. But if this is what they can command..." The silence in the room grew heavier. No one laughed at the human anymore. No one even looked at him directly for long. They looked at the predator, then quickly turned away. The showcase, once a place of pride, had turned into a test of fear. No alien cared about their pet's tricks anymore. They only wondered how long they could sit in the same room as a creature that turned them into prey without moving a single muscle. The teacher finally spoke again, his voice low, as if speaking too loud might provoke the beast. "We will continue tomorrow." Class dismissed. The aliens hurried out, some clutching their pets so tightly they squeaked. But even as they left, many of them glanced back. The predator sat calmly, the human at its side, both of them watching the room empty, and in that silence, every student understood something new. This was no longer about pets, this was about power, and humans had just shown they had more of it than anyone ever imagined. The next day, the classroom was changed. Desks were pushed aside, leaving a wide circle in the center. Metal walls slid down from the ceiling, forming a training arena. This was no ordinary lesson. This was the obedience trial, a test. Designed to show which pets could follow orders under stress, the students gathered nervously, their pets clutched close. Whispers filled the air. Everyone knew today would be different. Today, the human's predator would be tested. The teacher stood tall at the edge of the arena, trying to sound firm, though his voice carried unease. "The rules are simple," he announced. "Each pet will demonstrate control, discipline, and restraint. No violence against students, no chaos. If an animal loses control, it will be removed immediately." The aliens nodded. One by one, their pets stepped into the circle. A glowing bird performed a flight pattern perfectly, responding to every whistle. Scaled lizard climbed the wall, froze, and returned when called. Even the jelly creature impressed the class by reshaping itself into symbols of its owners. Language, the students clapped politely. But their eyes always flicked toward the human in his silent cage. Finally, the teacher's 4 eyes narrowed. "Human, it is your turn." The human stood calmly, unlocking the cage once more. The predator stepped out, silent as a shadow. Its claws tapped against the arena floor. The room grew colder with every step it took. Alien pets whimpered, pressing into their owners, refusing to look up. The teacher cleared his throat. "Command it." The human spoke softly, but firmly. "Sit." The predator obeyed instantly, lowering its powerful frame to the ground. Its glowing eyes stayed fixed on the teacher. A murmur ran through the class. No one had expected obedience. So sharp, so immediate, the teacher frowned, trying to push the test further. "Make it move," around the circle. The human nodded. "Walk." The predator circled the arena smoothly, its muscles rippling under its dark skin. It walked with grace, yet every step carried danger, like a storm waiting to break. The teacher raised his hand. "Faster." "Run," the human commanded. The predator obeyed again, sprinting in perfect rhythm. The sound of its claws striking the metal floor echoed like thunder. The walls of the arena shook with its speed. Gasps filled the classroom. Ah! Students covered their ears. Others couldn't look away. The teacher pressed further, voice trembling slightly. "Make it stop." The human lifted his hand. "Stop." The predator froze instantly, like a statue. The silence that followed was unbearable. But then, something unexpected happened. One of the alien pets, a venomous worm kept in a glass container, panicked under the pressure. It broke free, slithering. Across the arena, hissing, it lashed toward the predator, striking with deadly fangs. The predator reacted in a blur. With one swipe of its claw, the worm was crushed flat against the floor. The sound echoed through the chamber. The alien owner screamed, rushing forward, but froze when the predator's glowing eyes locked onto him. The arena erupted in chaos. Alien pets shrieked, students yelled, teachers shouted for order. The human raised his voice for the first time, sharp and commanding. "Down." The predator obeyed instantly, lowering itself, though its eyes still glared with fire. The teachers. The face was pale, all four eyes wide. This is out of control. But deep inside, everyone knew the truth. The predator had not attacked in madness. It had acted with precision. It had killed only the threat, nothing else. The human stood tall, his voice calm again. "He was protecting me. That's what he does." The whispers spread through the room like a storm. Some students stared in awe, others in terror. One alien muttered, "It didn't just follow orders. It thought. It chose." The teacher said nothing. His hands shook as he dismissed the trial. Early, and as the predator returned to its cage, quiet and obedient, the alien students realized something far worse than fear. It wasn't just the predator that scared them. It was the human who commanded it. The academy could not ignore what had happened. The crushed venomous worm was still spoken of in every hall. Students whispered in fear, teachers argued in private, and the headmaster himself demanded another demonstration. So, on the fourth day, the obedience arena was filled again, but this time the stands were crowded. Not just students, but other teachers, guards, and curious officials had come to watch. Everyone wanted to see the human's predator, some hoping to learn its secret, others simply afraid of what it might do next. The human stood calmly as always, the heavy cage beside him. The predator inside was quiet, but its glowing eyes shone through the bars like twin lanterns in the dark. The teacher raised his hand. "Today will be different. Today we will test all pets together. They will compete. Strength, loyalty, reaction. We will see who deserves to be called the finest companion." The alien students released their pets into the arena. The glowing birds circled above. Scaled lizards hissed and crawled across the walls. Jelly creatures bounced lightly. Shifting into shapes, the human waited. When the teacher nodded, he opened the cage. The predator stepped out, slow and steady, like a king entering his throne room. The other pets froze instantly. Some whimpered, others backed away. One bird even dropped mid-flight, too terrified to. "Keep its wings open," the teacher shouted. "Begin the challenge." At first it seemed normal. Aliens called their pets, commanding them to race, climb, or show tricks. The human gave simple orders: walk, sit. Turn, and his predator obeyed with perfect discipline. But then the tension snapped. One scaled lizard, desperate to prove its worth, lunged at the predator. Its owner screamed, "Attack!" hoping to show strength. The predator moved faster than anyone could follow. One swipe of its claw sent the lizard rolling across the floor, unconscious but alive. The alien student rushed to grab it, shaking in terror. Chaos broke loose. The jelly creature split into wild, uncontrolled forms, knocking students over. The glowing birds panicked, slamming into the walls. The arena turned into a storm of fear and noise. And then it happened. The predator roared. It wasn't just sound. It was power, shaking the air, echoing through every wall, crawling into every bone. The roar silenced the arena instantly. Birds fell. Jelly creatures collapsed into trembling puddles. The scaled pets curled into themselves, refusing to move. Even the alien students dropped to their knees, covering their ears, eyes wide with terror. The guards at the doors reached for their weapons, but froze when they saw the human raises. "Hand, stay," the human commanded. The predator stopped, its glowing eyes still burning, its chest rising and falling like a storm barely contained. But it obeyed. The silence that followed was more frightening than the roar itself. Every alien in the room stared, not at the predator, but at the human. He had not flinched. He had not begged for control. He had spoken one word, and the beast had obeyed. The teacher's voice trembled when he finally spoke. "This is not a pet. This is a weapon." The human shook his head slowly. "No, he is more than that. He is my protector, is my partner. He is proof." Proof of what? One alien dared to ask, his voice weak. The human's calm eyes swept across the arena. That humans do not bow to fear, make fear bow to us. No one argued. No one laughed. The alien students who once mocked him now avoided his gaze completely, and the predator, still crouched by his side, stared at them all, as if deciding which one it would devour first if given the chance. The arena had shown many pets before. I would be artist I will for to way I what I was Predator was unleashed, and humanity's shadow stretched further than anyone had imagined. The arena smelled of silence. No birds sang, no lizard hissed, no jelly creature shimmered. Every pet was broken by fear, crouched in corners or hiding in their owner's arms. Only one animal remained, calm the predator, crouched beside the human, its glowing eyes unblinking. The teacher's voice was almost a whisper. This trial is finished." No one cheered. No one clapped. The alien students only stared. They had mocked the human before, laughed when he dragged that heavy cage into class. Now, none dared even breathe too loudly near him. One feathered alien, trembling, spoke first. "You brought an apex predator, and it obeys you." The human looked at him, calm and steady. "He obeys because he chooses to. That's the difference. Trust, not chains." The words cut deep. Many aliens had trained their pets with fear, control, or chemicals. None had considered partnership. Yet here stood a human, commanding the most dangerous creature any of them had seen with nothing but trust. The guards, still uneasy, lowered their weapons slowly. The officials in the stands whispered among themselves, shaken. The teachers, Four Eyes watched the human closely, no longer with irritation, but with something heavier - respect. Finally, the headmaster of the academy entered, his tall form cloaked in silver. The crowd parted instantly. He'd been watching from above, silent. Now his deep voice filled the chamber. Never, in all years of this academy, has a student shown such control, not of a pet but of a predator at the top of its chain. He paused, his many eyes scanning the class. And it is a human who has done this. The students lowered their heads, ashamed of their laughter from days before. They had treated the human as a joke, but today they had witnessed what humanity truly meant. Not weakness, not foolishness. Something far greater. The headmaster looked at the human directly. "You have not only passed this test, you have changed it. From now on, the academy will remember, humanity walks with predators and commands them." The human gave a small nod, his calm expression never breaking. The predator rose beside him, tall and powerful, its tail sweeping the floor like a blade. Together, they walked back toward the cage. But the predator did not return inside. It walked freely, silent, each step heavy with authority. As they passed, no alien dared to move. Some bowed their heads, others stepped back. Respect was unspoken, but it was there, sharp as the predator's claws. When the human reached the door, he stopped for a moment. His voice was low, but it carried to every corner of the room. Remember, these humans don't need the biggest numbers or the brightest wings or the strongest scales. All we need is one reason to fight, and we will always stand at the top. Then, he left his predator following him like a shadow carved from fear itself. For a long time, the arena remained silent. Finally, one alien whispered what all of them now knew: the joke was on us. And from that day, no student, no teacher, no creature in the academy ever underestimated humanity again.